guys, what's going on? Welcome back to my channel, or if you're new, welcome to my channel. I just wanted to sit down with you guys today and tell you my overall experience on my rhinoplasty journey. Video for you guys today because it's something that I myself would have really appreciated seeing way back before I even went on my journey. So questions that I'll be answering, which will hopefully give you guys more peace of mind or give you better insight on the whole journey itself, because sure and you want your mind to be at ease when going through something so drastic. If you guys like and subscribe, that'd be also appreciated, and let's just jump right in. So I'll start with the main question, which was who was my surgeon. So my surgeon was Dr. Erdem Caglar. He's in Turkey. A lot to run down with you guys today, so stay tuned and let me guys have any further questions too. Just leave them in the comment section down below and I'll gladly answer, because I know how it feels to be on that end when you're researching and second guessing and you want to make sure you're choosing the best suitable surgeon for you. And there's so many things that your mind comes up with. So I got you guys. I'm going to do the best that I can in order for you guys to feel more comfortable if you guys are even considering Erdem Caglar. So just let me know what you guys think, or if you have any questions in the comment section down below. So I went with Erdem Caglar. Little backstory, let's just start from the beginning, is I'm from Canada, and the reason why I wanted to have rhinoplasty to begin with was because when I was in elementary school, I was a huge tomboy. I'd be on the soccer team, wrestling team, basketball team. Funny that I say basketball because I'm like 5 feet tall, but you girl could shoot some hoops. I was on the basketball team, track and field. I was like every sport that was available for me to join, I was joined in it. And excuse my voice, I'm a little bit extra raspy today because I have a little bit of a sore throat. But with that being said too, I was on a basketball team and I had this incident where the ball like came flying at my nose and I heard a crack and it bled for hours and hours and hours. And it's kind of a little bit graphic too, but I had this huge clot come out of my nose that I've never seen in my whole life, which really terrified me. But honestly, ever since then, I had this like bump kind of like right over here on my nose that was flat, and it just kind of broadened up my whole nose. Why did I go to Turkey for rhinoplasty? So I decided to go to Turkey because Turkey, if you guys have done your research, is like home of rhinoplasty. Like the surgeons are very specialized. You have so many surgeons to choose from. Pricing is much more affordable than where I'm located in, which is Canada. And in Canada, like I've searched surgeons in Canada, and the results that they give are so minimal. Like they don't really deep project your nose. They don't really give you that nice curve. They don't give you supra tip break. They don't, like, the results that they give you in Canada, or I feel like even sometimes in the States too, are very minimal and what they would call natural. But if you're looking for more like drastic results, especially if you need a revision rhinoplasty, like Turkey is the way to go, because the surgeons are so advanced when it comes to even their techniques that they use. It's much more affordable. Technique is 10 out of 10, much more advanced in my opinion too. And it's kind of like a vacation in one too, so it's like a win-win-win situation. So it just made more sense to me. Also, I chose Turkey because I've always wanted to go there too, because the whole like lifestyle and scenery and food, the food is so good. So I just thought it's like a vacation / surgery in one. So I've always searched in Turkey. I never wanted to do any kind of surgery in Canada. So how many surgeons did I contact? When I tell you guys, I contacted over probably 80 surgeons. I'm not even kidding you. I contacted surgeons until honestly, like I almost ran out of surgeons to contact. Like it's insane. The type of things that you'll come across when you're researching surgeons is like you have to really make sure you talk to the surgeon's previous patients, because if you look at their Instagram, obviously they're gonna only display the best of the best, and with photoshops, you have to really make sure that there's videos too. There was one surgeon that I was really set on. His name is Mustafa Ali Yannick, I think. If I mispronounce it too, I'll be sure to link it in the description box. But this surgeon, I was almost so sure that I wanted to go with him. This is kind of in the beginning of my whole journey. So I was almost so sure that I wanted to go with him because his pictures, his before and after pictures were unreal. Like, you had people with such projected and like maybe crooked noses, and like they even need like heavy revisions, and his after pictures were like, they seemed photoshopped. Like, it was almost too good to be true. But with that being said, honestly, like the more research that I did on him it just led to the whole fact that his things were most likely photoshopped from the people that I did speak with. Like, honestly, I had a whole Instagram account for my surgery, for my rhinoplasty surgery. I've honestly been wanting to do this for about over 10 years now. It's just something that I've always felt like would improve my overall self-confidence and just make me feel a little bit better about myself. And honestly, like, who's anybody to tell you no when it's something for yourself that's gonna make you better in any kind of aspect? But just be cautious when, if it's your first surgery, just kind of be cautious that once you undergo any first surgery, it can sometimes lead to body dysmorphia, and it can make you feel like you're just not pleased with anything at all. So just, it's always good to kind of keep yourself in check and have the mindset that there's sometimes always going to be things that you can always tweak, but it's always good to just kind of be more content too. But to each their own, of course, too. Like, if you want to do something, go ahead. Who's anybody to tell you no, right? Who else was I considering? I was considering to go with another surgeon. His name is Bahadir Baykal, I think. And another one was Gray Yaselda, I believe. I don't know if I'm pronouncing their names right, but I'll link them in the description just in case. I'll write their full Instagram names. So the Gray Yaselda guy, he's performed surgeries on all of the like celebrities and influencers in Turkey. So I thought you would be in good hands with him. So I thought for sure you would be in good hands with him. But one thing that was very important with me is, like, you know how people say you know when you know? It kind of makes no sense until you're in that position and you have that gut feeling. Honestly, like, especially women's intuition and gut feeling, always follow it, because you always know best. And sometimes you'll try and trick yourself into thinking, oh, you know, something seems fishy, but I'll just go with it. Just stop and just think, what does your gut tell you? How comfortable do you feel? Because it's not something you can really hide. It's like, it's your face that you're dealing with. So one thing with him, the reason why I didn't go with him is because it's my first surgery ever. And I was very skeptical, and I was extremely nervous because I had to go under anesthesia, and it's like the bone that you're dealing with and it's on your face. So I was extremely scared in a way. So I asked if there was any way that I could speak with the doctor or just kind of have a FaceTime call with him, and his assistant told me, no, he's too busy, he can't do that, end of story. So I was kind of hesitating. So I kind of was on hold for Gray Yaselda, and then I came across Bahadir Baykal. He was also very good, but his assistant kind of rushed me into just booking, and I didn't get a chance to speak with the doctor too. To me, something that was very important was actually speaking with the doctor to make sure that I was fully comfortable and the results that I wanted were achievable. Because imagine you go all the way there just to find out A, you're not comfortable, or B, the results that you really want are not even achievable. Like, it's a waste of energy, time, hope, money. It's just, you'd rather not, right? So I kind of just kept everything on hold, and then I came across Erdem Caglar, and I realized that he was getting very popular, and a lot of people were saying really good things about him. And I stopped and wondered. I'm like, it's kind of funny because I haven't heard anything negative about him, which kind of raised the suspicion for me. So what I did was I reached out to many of his previous patients that have had surgery with him, and I kind of asked them, like, hey, how's it going? What did you think? How was the surgery? Would you recommend him? This and that. And I was amazed to see that nobody had anything bad to say about him. Like, of course, there's always going to be a bad situation. Like it's a human surgeon, you know, nothing can be 100 out of 100. So that was something that stood out to me a lot, because it seemed like every surgeon that I could find, I could find a lot of bad things about the surgeon, but sometimes find good things. But with Erdem Caglar, I found really, really good things, and I'm honestly, till this day, I haven't really heard anything bad about him. And a lot of people say that they don't really consider him because his noses seem very upturned and very piggy-like, but it depends on what kind of nose and outcome that you want, of course. Some people asked if they can go alone. And honestly, like, to each their own, you can definitely go alone. But me personally, I went with my sister-in-law, and I could not have imagined going alone, just for the whole sake of it being my first surgery ever, and it was kind of nerve-wracking for me. And there was a point where the healing process like really affected my daily activities, and I needed somebody else to just kind of be there and just for more peace of mind. But honestly, like, you can definitely go alone. I know a lot of people that have gone alone to Turkey, get their rhinoplasty, recover, and just come back quick. Like, you go, girl. Or even guy, you do your thing. It's good. But me personally, I went with a sister-in-law, and I'm glad I did. So what happened was, I researched for a very, very long time. I had my surgery in I believe it was September. It was the last week of September. So the funny thing is whenever I was searching to get the rhinoplasty, I was searching to like plan maybe a year in advance, but I just became so exhausted of searching and searching and searching, and mentally I knew that I was so terrified of it that I just kept putting it off and off and off, that when I contacted Erdem Caglar, he had a FaceTime call with me. He reassured me like everything that kind of goes on during the whole surgery and what results are achievable, what I can, how the recovery is. And he was amazing in the sense that he really tries to put your mind at ease. Like, I told him so many times, like, it's my first surgery, I'm kind of terrified, like, are the results that I'm gonna get achievable? And he's like, he was the first surgeon ever actually to even FaceTime call me, and second of all, he was the first surgeon that kind of, I feel like, knew what it was like to be on my end, because he said, you're overthinking it, and the more you think, the harder it's going to be for you. He's like, sometimes when you know what you want, you just kind of have to go about it. And if it was any other surgeon telling me this, I would automatically think like, this surgeon just wants to take my money, like they just want to wrap it up and go. But I feel like with him, it was very genuine. So I really appreciated that. And one thing with him is he's very, very honest. Like, he will not tell you anything that cannot be done. And I just got a really, really genuine vibe from him, and intuition, like just gut feeling overall. So that was something that was, in my opinion, like number one deciding factor for me, because I literally spoke with him a month before my surgery, and I was like, you know what, if I don't do it now, I'm just gonna keep researching and keep searching and keep searching and putting it off until I don't even know when. So I told him, I'm like, you know what, doctor, I just want one more FaceTime call with you, and I'll for sure decide whether I'm gonna go with it or not. And he was like, no problem, whatever you like. And the next available date that he had, we scheduled another, like, it was so hard for me to get one video FaceTime call with any surgeon, let alone two. So this guy is like 10 out of 10. He was stepping his game up. So I really appreciated that. So we got onto another FaceTime call, and I told him like, I have a little editing skills, because I took some pictures of my side profile and I morphed them myself, and then I sent them to him and I said, are these achievable? He said, yes, they are achievable, but keep in mind that I'm not 100% sure on your skin texture and skin type and what can be done until I am actually in the operating room and looking at your nose and seeing everything, which makes sense, of course. But he kind of put my expectations to rest, where he said basically like the results that I wanted were achievable. So I was like, you know what? Gut feeling is telling me he's the surgeon for me. the results I want were achievable. Price was right. His price was €2,500, which in Canada it's like over $20,000 to just get a minimal result, which kind of blows my mind too. So that was a no-brainer for me. So what I did was I basically requested time off work. I booked my ticket. I sent my deposit. Sending the deposit was a little bit tricky because I didn't really know how to make it happen. But he sends you a link, and then what you will do is you'll sign into the app. If you guys have any questions about it too, just let me know in the comment section down below. I just can't really remember the name of the app at the top of my head. I booked my stay in Turkey for about 13 days because I wanted some time to kind of explore the city before I went for the surgery. So when I got to Turkey, it was the second or third day after I got there. I went to the hospital. I met with his assistants. They're all very, very nice. And I had to actually do another COVID test before my surgery because the time that they allowed before doing a COVID test and getting your surgery was I think a couple days. So I was kind of past that. But let me tell you guys, this COVID test was unlike any COVID test I've had in my whole life. Like, I'm kind of like, ugh, just thinking about it. But what they did at the COVID test there was they took a swab, they stuck it down your throat, and then after that, they would stick it in your nose. So when the technician first stuck the swab down my throat and then took it out, and then he went for my nose, I kind of like moved my head back. I'm like, wait, are you sure? He's like, yeah, yeah. And then he stuck it up my nose. I'm like, man, if this is how you guys do it, just get it over with. So that was kind of like a ugh moment for me. But anyways, it was whatever. So I had the COVID test done, and then I did some blood work, which wasn't bad at all. And then I met with Dr. Erdem Caglar and had a little light and magnifying lens inside of it, and he stuck it into my nose and he opened up my nostrils just to kind of see, because he asked me if I had any breathing issues, and I said not that I really know of. And then what ended up happening was he said, you definitely have a deviated septum on my left side, which I wasn't even aware of. So he said that's going to take a little bit more work. So I was like, okay, cosmetic issue is going to be fixed. The little dent that I had from the basketball was going to be fixed, and also my breathing issue. So it's like, yeah, it's a good decision. And then what ended up happening after that was he made a little morph, and he showed me what my nose, he took some pictures, and then he made a little morph of what my nose could look like after the surgery. And he showed me two different options. One of them was a little bit more straight, and one of them was a little bit more upturned. So my main desire for the whole surgery was do whatever you have to do as long as my nose is smaller. So with him, he's very, very big on, he doesn't deproject the nose a lot, but what he does, he would always explain this to me over FaceTime, but I really wouldn't really understand it until I was face to face with him, was he said, when the nose is slightly upturned, it gives the illusion of a smaller nose overall, which now that I've undergone the surgery, I completely understand, because my nose looks very small compared to what it used to be. And he didn't really deproject it much. Like, he shaved down the bone by the bridge, and also the tip of it is a little bit upturned. Like I told him, he said, if you want a really, really small nose, I am gonna have to make it a little bit more upturned. And I told him, like, that is fine with me. Do whatever you have to do as long as my nose appears smaller. So I was like, I knew that I was going to be upturned. So we were on the same page about that. And then what happened was my surgery was scheduled for, I think it was 7 a.m. in the morning. No, it was 8 p.m. It was 8 a.m. in the morning. So I ended up going to the hospital about 2 hours earlier. Just went through some paperwork. The paperwork kind of freaked me out, not going to lie. But I kind of understand, because you literally, like, it was page after page after page. And at one point I asked him, like, hey, what does this thing say? And the lady told me, oh, if death happens, it's not our fault. I'm like, which kind of, when you hear that, you kind of stop and think, oh, shit. But I was like, you know what, it's rhinoplasty. Like, anybody going under anesthesia, having any kind of surgery, there's always going to be a withdrawal. There's always going to be some kind of side effect, which happens with any surgery. So I was like, you know what, I'm not going to pay too much attention to it. So I just signed, and everything was fine. I gave them the payment, and then I went upstairs. I got changed into a gown, into socks, and then the anesthesia doctor came in, and he just kind of went. He asked me a few questions, and nothing too crazy. And then they inserted the cannula into my inner forearm here, and then they took me into the operating room, which, in my opinion, was kind of like very nerve-wracking for me. But if you've had any surgery before, like, this is like probably very simple, but to me it was the first time ever, so I don't know what to expect. I didn't want to think too much about it. So I went into the operating room. They laid me down, they wheeled me in, and then I got into the operating room, and all I see is this big lamp, this big circle above me, and I'm laying there. My legs they're elevated, and they're kind of like tied. And the room was really cold. And then the nurses and the surgeon there, the nurses and the anesthesia doctor and everybody was super nice. They were talking about me, just casually keeping my mind off of like the fact that I'm literally gonna get knocked out in a few seconds. They were talking to me, like, tell me, hey, so how's life in Canada? What do you do? This and that. So I was like, I'm so cold. And the last thing I remember was saying, I'm so excited. And then I just dozed off. So I dozed off. But before I dozed off, I made sure, like, I asked them, like, where's the doctor? And then Erdem, like, the doctor was there, because sometimes I've heard horror stories of like girls that have surgery, like people that have surgery, and it's not even operated by their own doctor. So once I saw him, he came into the operating room. He put his hand on my shoulder. He's like, I'm here. He's like, don't worry, everything's okay. And then I just dozed off, and then I woke up. I don't mean to like terrify you guys or anything, but this being my first surgery ever, I had no experience at all with any kind of anesthesia. So when I woke up out of anesthesia, I remember my sister-in-law, she was there by me, and she was like, she told me how it was after, because I didn't really remember it. But I woke up out of anesthesia, and I was crying. I was like, I'm so cold, I'm so cold. I was like, it hurts. But it didn't really hurt, to be honest. Like, maybe in the moment I was mentally freaked out, but there wasn't pain. It was more discomfort, because coming out of it, my body was shivering, and overall I'm a very cold person anyway, so I felt like it was like there was ice all over. It was like I was in a tub full of ice, and I was just shaking, and I'm like, it hurts, I'm so cold. And my sister-in-law kept putting blankets on me. So it wasn't too bad. Thinking back at it now, probably in the moment I was a little bit overreacting, but it's all good. I took a nap. I think the surgery lasted about 3, maybe 4 hours. The best feeling ever was, like, you don't know this until you experience it, but the best feeling was when you're laying there right out of surgery, and they bring like any kind of ice packs or ice cubes. Like, for me, what they did was they put the ice in the gloves, in plastic gloves, and they just put it on my eyes while I was laying there. And oh my god, it felt like the ice cubes were taking all of the discomfort away from me. Like, you could physically feel it. It felt so nice. So yeah, I had the cast on my nose. I had the silicone in both of my nostrils. Then I had a little tape underneath on my upper lip, just to prevent all the leakage that was coming out. And then basically I just laid there, and then the hospital food wasn't that good. Like, the doctor even warned me of it. He's like, there's a lot of restaurants nearby that you can get food from. So I was laying there, and the food came, and I just was not feeling it at all. So my sister-in-law, she grabbed me some lentil soup, which I honestly eat at home too. So I love lentil soup. And it was so nice when she brought me the food, because it was like your first meal in a while. So I really took it in. Just be sure to really eat light foods. Like, I would honestly avoid any heavy meats or proteins. Just take it really light. Soups or carbs are good. Really over prepared when I went. Like, I grabbed arnica pills, gel, bromelain capsules. I grabbed a huge pack of Q-tips. I got a neck pillow. Didn't even use much of the things that I got. The only things that I used, but I didn't even know if they really made a difference, was I used arnica pills. And also, what else did I use? I tried to use a neck pillow because after the surgery, they say you're supposed to sleep in an elevated position, but I couldn't sleep with the neck pillow on my, like, it was just kind of uncomfortable for me. So what I did was I stacked pillows on top of each other, and that was just more comfortable for me. But honestly, I wouldn't really recommend getting too many supplies. Like, the neck pillow is good if you have a really soft one. Arnica pills I use, but I honestly don't even know if they made a difference or not. Straws I used because straws were kind of helpful for sure. Definitely, the three things that I really used a lot was, number one, I used a ton of Q-tips. Like, Q-tips were my best friend. Everywhere I went, I had a Q-tip with me. And then also the two things that I really recommend is they have this gauze that you can just they had gauze that you can just take, you can cut up, you can roll it and just put it on your upper lip here, and then they have surgical tape that you can just tape around. That thing was my best friend the whole recovery, because sleeping at night, like, you kind of sometimes your nostrils do drip, sometimes blood, sometimes just mucus in general. So that really helped me. I honestly don't even know how I would have got by without that. I got ice packs as well, but it didn't do as good as the ones that they made in the hospital with the little glove. Because the ones that I had, they would just slide off, or you couldn't really use the eye patch ones too, because you had the cast on your nose. So that's something to kind of, I didn't really know until you just went through it. Was there a language barrier? So when I was in the hospital, the nurses were honestly, like, not that good. Like, there was a few times where I would press the button where I wanted a nurse to come, and nobody would come at all, because I would try to sleep and my nose would just keep dripping, and I wanted to change it because the blood was just getting into my mouth. And at one point, I just got out with I left my room with my little IV just strutting down the hallway, and I'm like, this one. So the language barrier wasn't too bad. There was always my phone, like, there was Google Translate, so I would always use that if I really needed something. And I even asked the nurses, I'm like, if they could give me a little bit more of the gauze and tape, and they're like, yeah, no problem. So they gave me that. But I did end up purchasing my own once I did leave the hospital too, which was definitely a lifesaver. So after the surgery, what the doctor just prescribed me was, he prescribed me, I think there were three things. So number one was a cream that you would put inside of your nose to lubricate the area after the silicone is out. Or even, like, just around the outer edge of your nostril too, or even just by your stitches too, whenever you could. That was the first thing. And then he prescribed me antibiotics and then also painkillers. And then what you would also do is, he would recommend that you had to get a nasal spray just to kind of clean out your nose, because it can get stuffy and a lot of dried up blood and stuff. So that was another thing that was good too. So the first couple days I'm not gonna lie to you guys, they were a little bit brutal, because you had the silicone in your nose, and your nose, like, you have this very thick cast on, and you can't sleep. You can't, especially for me, because I like to sleep regularly on my stomach. Like, I sleep like a starfish. So being so constricted to leveling your head with all those pillows, and, like, sleeping elevated and not moving to your left or right, just kind of being more like a statue sleeping, that was very uncomfortable for me. And there was one point in the middle of the night, maybe it was day 2, yeah, I think it was day 2, where I woke up around like 4 a.m. and I'm like, wow, what have I done? I kind of regretted it because I was in so much discomfort, but everything honestly paid off a lot. Like, it was worth it times 100. Like, if I was in more discomfort and more pain, like, I still would have thought it's the best decision I could have made. But it's always good to just kind of have a heads up just in case. But one thing with him is, I had no bruising at all, and very minimal swelling. Like, I've seen videos of some girls or guys, when they get rhinoplasty, like, their whole eyes, they swell up until they almost shut, and they have a lot of bruising. And I told him, like, hey doctor, I'm like, this, like, am I gonna get the swelling and bruising very soon? He's like, oh no, he's like, a lot of my patients don't really get swelling and bruising. And I'm like, sick. So that was something that was good. So I had the silicones in my nose and the very thick plastic pink cast on my nose for about 5 days. And then I think on the 6th day, I went back to his clinic and he took off the plastic cast off my nose. And then he took out the silicone bits. And from what I thought is when he took out the silicone bits is my breathing would be 10 out of 10. I could breathe fully because it was so irritating not being able to breathe. Oh, one thing to note too is I got dry mouth spray, which was so handy because all this breathing that you're doing from your mouth, it dries the living shit out of your mouth. And dry mouth spray, it really helps to just hydrate it, and also Vaseline because your lips are gonna get so chapped. These two things were very important for me too. I kept them right by my nightstand in my hotel. And the hotel that I stayed in was about 15-20 minutes away from his hospital. Like, I wouldn't really recommend staying too close to his hospital. 15-20 minute drive. So I wouldn't really recommend staying too close around his hospital. Like, he himself even told me I wouldn't really recommend it because there's not too much to do around there. Like, the area that I stayed in, it was called Sicily, so Sisli. So there was a lot of coffee shops and nice restaurants. I mainly stayed in for the first 3 to 4 days because I just felt like such a hassle. Like, I could have gone out on day 3, but my nose was just kind of irritating me a little bit to the point where it just kept dripping. So I just thought I'd just stay home. I ordered a lot of food. They have an app in Turkey where it's like Skip the Dish or DoorDash or Uber Eats, and they just bring food to you, and they have a wide variety, and their food is so cheap and very delicious too. So that was really useful. And yeah, so what I would do on days where, I think it was on the 4th day, I went out for a nice walk with my sister-in-law. We went to the coffee shop and we got some food. And then we went to a few of the malls in the area too. But one thing that I should have done before I even got the surgery was going to the Grand Bazaar, because I waited literally on the last day to go to the Grand Bazaar, and man, I was in a rush, and it was so busy, and I was like kind of on a time crunch, and I was so hungry too that I could have enjoyed it much more and had a much more pleasant shopping experience if I went before my surgery, but I just didn't think of that. But they have really nice restaurants and such too. If you guys want any recommendations, I'll be sure to leave them in the comment section down below. Just feel free to ask me. Overall, so going back to when he took out the silicone from my nostrils and also the cast, what he also did was he cut a few stitches that were inside of my nose, which kind of felt a little bit uncomfortable, but it's okay. It just felt very good to get inserts out of my nose. With that being said though, your breathing does not heal fully. Like, you can't fully breathe right after because your nose, the inside of your nose is swollen. So that's something that I didn't really know because I was like so eager, and I'm like, I just can't wait to breathe. I can't wait to breathe. I can't wait to breathe. And then once the day came where I got everything removed from my nose, I was just kind of like, I can't really pull your nose outwards. But he told me, he's like, you have to avoid that because that itself can cause even more swelling. So just be cautious of that too. Right after I took the cast off, I took a quick picture of my nose, and I was kind of stunned because it was hard to believe that was my nose. It was very upturned, and he even told me, he's like, it's very upturned right now, but it's gonna come down, and also it is swollen. So I've seen a lot of people on their rhinoplasty journey, and that was something to expect because you can't really tell how your nose is going to heal until like maybe the 6-month mark, or because they say you're healing for your primary rhinoplasty takes about a year healing, but then if it's your revision, it takes a little bit even longer after that. He gave me a silicone retainer to wear overnight or for about, I think he said about 10 hours of the day. Yeah, but he said you can just wear it as much as you can, but if you really can't stand it much during the daytime, just try and wear it at least when you sleep. So about 8 to 10 hours, he said for me. And I even asked him, like, I bought tape and everything to, because I've seen so many people tape their nose, and he said, for you, you don't have to tape. So I guess each and every single case is different. 2.5 weeks after the surgery, my nose, the breathing was completely fine. It was back to normal. And then also my nose didn't really affect my activities as much. Like I would, like, sometimes I would even forget I got a rhinoplasty until I would look in the mirror. So healing was very, very, very good. Like I was honestly blessed and extremely thankful that healing was so good, because so many things can go wrong, because it's like with any surgery, you know, like and you can easily catch an infection, or any healing can go wrong. So it's something to always be mindful of too. Just always follow your doctor's instructions. I'll try to insert before pictures of my nose as well anywhere on the screen. And overall, I could not have been happier choosing to go with Erdem Caglar. I honestly, like, it was the best decision I've ever made, and I'm very, very happy and glad that I chose to go with him, just because of many, many reasons. And I wish I would have gone to him even sooner. Always trust your gut instinct, and always research to see prior patients. Don't ever follow exactly what the surgeon himself shows on his page, because everybody wants to present their very best. Nobody wants to show you about the revision cases or the botched job. What helped me was making the Instagram page for my whole journey and just following previous patients. And there's also Facebook groups that you can join, which are really, really useful. That is basically all for my whole journey. Right now, I'm about 4 months post-op. I'll show you guys my side profile view. So that is one side. You have the little slope here. It feels very nice, and then you have the little tip. It felt very, very weird taking the whole silicone bit off. So one thing to know that I didn't mention beforehand too is once you get your initial pink cast, the plastic cast off, and your silicone gets taken out, what happens after that is he places like a little bit of a foam right at the bridge of your nose, and then he places like a beige tape over your nose, and you leave that on for about 7 days until you're gonna take it off and then FaceTime with him to. So I took a really, really hot shower, and then after I got out of the shower, I just slowly peeled it off, and it felt so weird because your nose feels all like, it feels like it's not even part of you. Like there's this weird sensation that it's like a tingling feeling that's kind of in your brain. It sounds very weird, but you don't know until you actually go through it. So what I did with that was actually I took a little bit of alcohol on a swab, and then I just brushed over the skin of my nose, and that really took off all the gunk that was on it. And I was very cautious applying makeup or anything after, because I use a beauty blender and I just really like pounce my face a lot. So that's something to be a little bit careful with too. But overall, healing is amazing. I'm about like 4 months post-op. I'm still wearing my retainer at night. I have been slacking on it, I'm not gonna lie, but I will definitely be sure to get back on it, because you don't want your nostrils to be like uneven. And sometimes what I find is some days I even forget to wear it, and then I find my breathing is not as refreshing as it typically is with the nose retainer in. So always follow your doctor's instructions. If you guys have any questions too, feel free to leave them in the comment section down below. I hope I really got to answer any questions that you guys may have had. If you guys have any more questions too, just leave them in the comment section down below. If you guys like and subscribe, once again, that would be appreciated. And thanks for tuning in, you guys.